So this evening I would like to reflect on one topics of Siddhanta, often some devotees have a good question in mind that what is more proper to accept in life of renunciation or life of self-care. You remember, I have already discussed about these topics in past in brief way. In other words, I remember I already touched on this point and topics of discussion. Whether or not self-care is okay. According to our Vaishnava philosophy, in other words, according to the views of the Siddhanta of Sanatana Dharma, absolute, the religion, according to the principles of the religion of the absolute good. So the question arises whether self-love, self-caring is okay, needed or not. In other words, because question arises because of the reason, because we find in our line of practices, we often find so much importance has been given on living a life of renunciation, holy austerity, like principle of self-abnegation, principle of holy renunciation, instead of dedicating much time, energy to take care of yourself, because then it is considered like selfish enjoyment. Okay, selfish enjoyment or selfishness. So self-love, conception of self-love, of self-care, sometimes may be misunderstood, misconceived as kind of selfish enjoyment, which including bodily and mental enjoyments, sense enjoyment. On the other hand, the spirit of holy renunciation, principles of holy renunciations in a devotee's life is considered to be very holy, proper life of tapasya, life of higher sadhana and tapasya, filled with some holy spirit of renunciations in spirit and action, renunciation in ideal and actions. So, and on the other hand, accordingly, in accordance with what I have just explained, the principle of holy renunciation, the spirit of dedication is more compatible, spirit of dedication is more appreciated compared to much self-care, self-love, because our noble principles always include the ideals of doing good for others, ideals of dedication, devotion, devoting one's own self into the service to the Lord, whole self, wholeheartedly. I repeat, Okay, devoting one's own self to the services of Supreme Lord and the divine couple and their pure devotees, and also dedicating yourself into doing good for others with all humility, humbleness. So what happens? Sometimes, due to our unclear conception, the ideal, the necessity, or principle of self-love and self-care doesn't fit. Because it just looks like one is becoming selfish, just caring for his own self. Okay, and almost it's not befitting with the principle of dedication and devotion. And when one is engaged in taking care of his or her own self, one is engaged in loving own self, then it means, that one is just selfishly engaged to take care of his own self, serving his own self. It's like becoming self-centered, very self-centered, self-centered ways and self-centered activities. And self-love also contains the conception of sense gratifications, which is often discarded in our philosophy. But at the same time, we understand that without having proper self-care, self-love, we also cannot continue very well in our life practically. Because if we don't take care of our own selves, don't have self-love, how can we take care of others? How can we love others? Because our body, mind, spirit also given by the Supreme Lord, we also have some holy duty to be done, towards our own self, towards caring for our own self, loving our own self. But we need to do that in relation to the love of God, in relation to the devoted love of God. So this is the point. Self-love or self-care is not at all prohibited in our Vaishnava, high-class Vaishnava philosophy, or Vaishnava ideals, or higher ideals of the Sanatana Dharma, Bhagavata Dharma. I repeat, it's not prohibited. It is quite nicely accommodated. But we have to understand and know how to apply, how to apply in a very proper way, how to implement it in a very reasonable, needed way, proper way, properly understood way, balanced way, in harmony, with the principles Lord Krishna advised in Bhagavad Gita, to follow a balanced path of life, middle path of life. He explained very nicely through this verse, Bhagavad Gita. Yukta haro viharusya yukta chestasya karmashu yukta sapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Yukta haro viharusya yukta chestasya karmashu yukta sapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. That Lord Krishna very nicely explains that every step of your activities, every kind of your life activities should be well balanced, should have a very proper balance. should follow a very balanced middle path of life, avoiding all extremities, except for divine love of Krishna. If that becomes extreme in our life, oh, that is so nectarian experience. So the conception of becoming extremity is not applied, in case of love of God, divine love of God. The more we have, the more it is better. The more we want. There cannot be ultimate extreme point of the divine love of God. Because it has no limit. Something which has no limit, naturally we don't have an extreme point for that because it has no limit. So we cannot say, oh, it is the topmost point, extreme point of that. That conception is only applied, conception of extremity only applies to there something limited. Vast but limited. But something which is unlimited by nature as divine Krishna prema. Conception of extremity is never applied to that. No matter how much love of Krishna we can have, still it's not extreme. It's not too much, it's not extreme. Even the most extreme love for Krishna, cannot be considered to be really epitome or very extreme. No matter how much love of Krishna we have, still it cannot be extreme. Because we want to have more than that. There's more than that. Can never be extreme. So except for love of Supreme Lord, Supreme Beautiful Lord, Krishna, Radharani. For other things, we need to avoid the extreme condition of life, extreme ways of our behavior or applications or implementations. Krishna is advising us to follow a middle path, a balanced path of life, free of extremities on both sides. In other words, Krishna advises us, never accept anything more than your necessity and less than your necessity. Just accept things, accept everything in your life as it is needed, as you require, as necessary. Do not venture to accept anything more than what you need, what is necessary for you, and less than what is necessary for you. Just simply accept everything in your life according to the necessity. Then, that's the very good wise way, wise path to lead to a successful life, to be fulfilled with success and success. Because when somebody accepts something more than necessity, then it's also considered to be exploitation, exploiting selfishness, and it also brings different sickness, problems of life. Suppose if we eat something more than necessity, we get sick. Less than necessity, we become weak. If the hunger is not appeased, we become weak. If we eat too much more than hunger, we also get sick. Stomach sickness comes. If we oversleep, we get sick. If we less sleep, we become weaker. Everything is like that. Anything we do in extreme way makes us tired, exhausts us. So, I repeat, as we accept anything more than necessity, unjustified, that is called exploitation, wastage, because I don't need it, but still I'm accepting it in my life. It becomes burden, rather it's burden instead of helping us, instead of being helpful. But if we accept, on the other hand, if we renounce too much, accepting less than our necessity, then also we become weaker because we are not fulfilling our needs of body, mind and spirit. We are not supplying enough care for them to remain fit, to remain sustained. Okay, we are being miser to supply sustenance. That's also not good. Everything is like that. You eat less, you get weak. Eat more, you have stomach sickness. Sleep more, you have sickness. You cannot sleep anymore. If anybody wants to sleep and sleep and sleep, at some point cannot even stay on bed. Too much sleeping, more than necessity. It makes one sick. Less sleep also makes one sick, weak. Similarly, acquiring too much wealth makes one sick. There are many examples. Too much political power, too much wealth, too much everything brings so much anxiety, life risk problem of life risk, okay, and so much dishonor. All these stuffs we find. With great political power, great wealth, it also brings so much disrespect and dishonor, invites so many enemies in life. Okay, although out of some delusions, people think of, oh, if we become too much wealthy, it's better and better. It's better and better, good to better to best. Too much political power, oh, it's very better and better. But those same people also experience great unhappiness because of the extreme greed and extreme want. They also invite so much unhappiness in life and they suffer from. They experience so much unhappiness of life. That's what we find in the lives of some of the political leaders, so-called powerful political leaders or great wealthy person. They live under so much anxiety. Okay. Also, we find they invite enemies, especially politically powerful people. So many people are abusing, dishonoring, disrespecting them. Sometimes they are put into jails. Many are appreciating, so many are depreciating them, denouncing them. And sometimes when they get involved in a very complicated political situation, although so much power, they lose peace of mind, peaceful sleep, peace of mind, always living under tremendous anxiety and worries, no matter how blunt they try to become on the face of the anxiety and worries, but still they go through that kind of miserable life. It's not a very happy life because of the extreme want. Of course, no risk, no gain. In the life of great sacrifice, there will be some worries and anxieties because it's life of sacrifice. But if the life of sacrifice is found for the noble cause, then there is also some special satisfaction and happiness to even sacrifice one's own life because they know it is done for the noble cause, for something great, noble cause. Then there is some healthy pride for that. Very healthy satisfaction comes for that. But without that, it's misery. Sacrifice, too much sacrifice. I don't mean balanced sacrifice. Balanced sacrifice is okay. Too much sacrifice, unbefitting, not compatible for your body, mind and spirit, okay, makes life miserable. Lord says, don't do that. Don't take too much enjoyment, neither take too much enjoyment, nor take too much austerity. Just accept a balanced life in between, free of too much self-abnegation, self-sacrifice, dry renunciation, and on the other hand, too much enjoyment. Both are not favorable to live a high-class spiritual life, to cultivate a high-class spiritual life, high-class devotional life. Our Guru Maharaj explained often, saying, our principle is that of bhogottag and tyagottag, meaning that we renounce enjoyment as well as we renounce dry renunciation, both. Okay. Sometimes some ascetic, some sages or other, people from the order of holy renunciation easily understand about rejecting the life of sense gratification, material sense gratification, selfish material enjoyment. They easily understand that. They don't understand how to reject renunciation. Okay? Renouncing the life of material enjoyment, easily understood, but renouncing the life of renunciation, not always easily understood. But that is true. Our Guru Maharaj once explained, our principle, our motto, one of our principles, basic principles is that we reject all selfish sense gratification, life of selfish enjoyments, life of selfish material enjoyment, as well as life of dry austerity, renunciation. Both needs to be rejected. Then what remains? What remains then? Life of service, life of devotion to the Lord. It is free from materially oriented selfish enjoyment, spirit of selfish enjoyments, as well as dry, distress-giving austerity or renunciation, miserable renunciation, too much renunciation, which makes someone weak. Therefore, Lord Krishna said, be yukti yukta, be well balanced, be reasonable. Yukti yukta means be quite reasonable in your life activities, in every life actions. Okay, be quite reasonable. Okay, properly caring about each and every of your life activities, life actions, such a way so that can bring the best benefit in your life instead of getting miserable. Yukta vairagya means a renunciation in a very reasonable way, proper way, balanced way, free of extreme or unnecessary, excessive self-enjoyment, and also self-renunciation means penance, taking so much penance in life, both to be rejected. Now question may arise, some great devotees they lived the life of great renunciation, like 6 Goswamis and others we found. They are Mahabhagavata, they are specifically powerful persons. They can happily live that kind of life. We are not supposed to copy them without having that quality of ability, that quality, of capability, we cannot copy them. Because they can live their life very happily, with so much satisfaction, even in a very simple, plain, renounced way, which may not be befitting to a normal person. You cannot take that. You lose all kind of happiness of life. If they want to live, they want to copy them, live a life of great renunciation and great austerity, too simple life without any self-care, without any comfort and, comfort of life, then they will lose all happiness from the life. And in that kind of life, if they are asked to do some service to the Lord, they will be more reluctant. They will have resentment. Because instead of feeling encouraged, enthused to be engaged in some happy service to the Lord, happy dedication, rather you have lots of resentment and unhappiness to do, because he himself is not very happy in his life due to too much austerity, austere ways, and maybe the body cannot take it, that austerity. So it all depends on the personal qualification, capability, constitutional ability, constitutional qualification and disqualification. How much is considered renunciation for one and what is not. The same thing, same standard. Renunciation for one, for other is not that kind of miserable renunciation. It is just fine. Just fine for him, depending on the nature of constitution. So anyway, back to the point. So, the principles of Yukta Vairagyam, in other words, harmonious, balanced ways of living one's own life in relation to the service to the Lord, devotional service to the Lord, is called Yukta Vairagyam. That is the best way, best balanced and harmonious way to live our life. Rejecting excessive selfish enjoyment, also excessive self-abnegation, dry austerity, penance, life of penance. So, within this principle of Yukta Vairagyam, the principle of self-care, self-love is represented. Lord Krishna is asking devotees to have proper care for your own self, proper loving care for your own self, of your own health, of body, physical health, mental health and spiritual health. Don't make too much sacrifice. Don't avoid taking care of your own self in a balanced, harmonious way according to time, place, situations, according to your own constitutional nature. If you do that, in other words, if you don't take care of yourself properly, if you don't have any self-love, proper self-care as it should be, as it is deserved by you, as it is required by you, then what will happen? You will become weaker and you will become sick. You lose all happiness to do even service to me. Because in order to do service to me, you need to be fit. Someone needs to remain fit by body, mind and spirit. Need to remain happy and energetic, filled with happy energy, to dedicate yourself, devote yourself. A real dedication, real spirit of dedication or devotion cannot come without happiness. Now I repeat, natural, real type, pure type of dedication and devotion cannot happen, without happiness. When someone has resentment, feeling bad about something, how one can dedicate to that? It is just very unhappy in the first place even to feel any spirit of dedication or devotion. So there has to be some happiness and loving feelings behind a real pure spirit of dedication and devotion. And if one is very unhappy due to taking too much penance of life of dry renunciation, automatically some resentment will come. His whole existence will be filled with resentment and unhappiness. He will feeling so much discomfort. So we'll lose all spirits of natural dedication and devotion, into the service of the Lord. So it's not practical. Therefore, proper self-care, proper self-love and self-care is very much required and is very much accommodated in our principle in the interest of our happy dedication, happy devotion, to the Supreme Lord, to the Supreme Cause. After all, it is devotional service, loving service, in other words, to the Supreme Lord. So feeling of love and happiness has to be there in that service. Cannot imagine any devotion without feeling of happiness, loving happiness to do that. So therefore, when devotees take proper amount, when the devotees have proper amount, proper amount or proper quality of self-care, self-love to keep oneself fit in the service to the Lord, in the field of dedication to the Lord, that is well accommodated. It may appear to be, apparently it may look like, it is opposite to the principle of humility and self-sacrifice and renunciation, vairagya, principle of vairagyam. Then it will be indulging into some selfish enjoyment, sense gratification in the name of self-care, self-love. Then it indulges into someone to become materially selfish, living for one's own self through self-care and self-love and not caring for others. It's not that at all. What the kind and quality of proper self-love, self-care I'm talking about, which is very conducive and favorable to life of devotion. It is very balanced and as necessary, and completely away from selfish material enjoyment, life of total selfish material enjoyment, full of only selfish enjoyment. I'm not talking about that kind of self-care or self-love, that's accepted in our life. But I'm talking about that kind of most proper and needed, most necessary quality of self-love and self-care in relation to the love of God, care for God. It's not I'm not talking about a spiritual self-love and self-care without the relationship to the love of God, loving care for God, but in relation, having proper, reasonable, as needed, as it is needed, self-care and self-love to take care of the devotee's health of body, mind and spirit, in relation, in the interest of properly caring, love of God, properly caring for God, a caring love of God, not without that interest. So I make it clear. So therefore, for example, when a pure devotee takes some rest, in other words, when a pure devotee to dedicate to the service of the Lord, that takes you nowhere. That doesn't fulfill your target. That doesn't bring any fulfillment, devotional fulfillment of life. Therefore, in order to become a good servant, a befitting, qualified servitor of the Lord, a servant needs to take care of his own health, mental health, bodily health, mental, spiritual health, remain fully healthy, to offer healthy service, to offer all service to the divine couple, with healthy happiness, healthy enthusiasm, not something like under force, doesn't want to do, somehow or other dragging on under some force, stricture and structure. No happiness to do that, because in the first place, he did not take care. He did not take care of his own self properly. There was no loving care for his own self. That own self also given by Krishna. It's also Krishna's property. So when a devotee views one's own self, one's own health in relation to Krishna, that it is Krishna's property, I should properly, as I take care of other things of Krishna very properly, I lovingly take care of other interests of Krishna, things of Krishna, very properly, in service to Krishna. Similarly, myself, my body, mind, spirit, also a property of Krishna. Since I have become a devotee, since I have become a devotee of Lord, I cannot live such type of life that I become so weak and unhealthy, and I lose the target lose my goal. Somehow I fail to achieve my goal because of my, ignorant ways, neglecting, taking care of my health, taking care of myself in a proper way. So, again, the quality of self-care, self-love I'm talking here about, divine self-love, self-care, it is in relation, in the interest of service to Krishna, not without. If it is without, then it becomes material self-care, self-love, then it is called material selfish enjoyment. That is something which is unfavorable to life of Krishna consciousness, life of loving service to Lord. But a self-care, proper self-care with self-love, in order to lovingly take care of Krishna's service, in order to remain qualified, healthy, happy, naturally happy, to take care of Krishna's service, to take care of Krishna's interest, it is very much accepted in our life. So that kind of self-care, self-love is not prohibited, is not to be eliminated from the life of the devotees. So sometimes they have some questions, confusion. bhoga is to be rejected. If I take care of myself, if I love myself, then I am becoming bhogi, enjoyer. I am no more servitor. I have no spirit of renunciation. I am no more servitor. I'm becoming self-enjoyer. Oh, and in the conception of self-care, self-love, also some sense gratification also there. Balanced sense gratification is okay. Okay. Every day you have to clean your eyes, take care of your eyes, give little massage. So you have to take care of all the senses. Eyes, ear, okay, your brain, some taste on the tongue also required. Therefore, pure devotees also laid some stress on cooking delicious prasadam. Okay. So, some amount of sleep is required to keep our health in a better condition, to keep the organs like heart, lungs, kidney, everything in a good condition. So sleep is necessary, eating food is necessary, sleeping is necessary, means resting necessary. Okay, having some taste on tongue also necessary, tasting the prasad, honoring the prasad while also enjoying appreciating its taste. Appreciating its taste. So these are all required. Okay, taking bath, okay, engaging in daily self-caring activities as normal are all taken in our life. They cannot be sacrificed. If they are sacrificed, we won't live our life in a normal way. We'll get sick. In the name of renunciation, too much renunciation, we'll get sick. That is not expected. So, conception, ideal of self-love, self-care in relation to the devotional love of God, in the interest of our loving service to God, loving care of God, is quite accepted in our ideals. Devotees should not worry about that, I will become bhogi, great bhogi, selfish enjoyer if I care for myself as needed. But again, it is self-love, self-care in relation to love of Krishna, in the interest of love of Krishna, in the interest of loving dedication to Krishna. I am giving something to myself, I am accepting something for myself to take care of myself, supplying some comfort to myself, so that I can happily and comfortably engage in service to Krishna. I can happily and comfortably dedicate myself to Krishna. Okay, for that purpose. Then it is quite okay. Then that self-care, self-love also become a duty, becomes a holy duty or holy part of the overall service to Krishna. It's no more, that kind of self-love, self-care no more remains as a separate interest, as an interest separate from Krishna's interest. But that becomes well included, well accommodated and harmonized within the world of the interest of dedicated service to Krishna, loving service to Krishna. So a devotee's self-care, self-love, again, is considered as an essential part of the service to Krishna, not without service interest to Krishna. That's the proper conception, understanding about it. Okay. And there are many examples. There are several several instructions, examples from the Holy Scriptures we find in support of what I have just said. Not only that same verse, not only that one verse from Bhagavad Gita, not only that particular verse, Yukta haro viharasya yukta chestasya karmashu yukta sapnavo bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. Other verses in Bhagavad Gita also points out towards that. While Krishna is explaining many things, Krishna is very particularly explaining in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, making the three divisions: sattvic ways, sattvic lifestyle, rajasic and tamasic lifestyle. Such and such foods are considered sattvic, such and such foods are considered rajasic, and such and such food considered tamasic. Okay, not just food-wise. In many ways, he explains about our, about the things of our life, that are sattvic type, rajasic type, tamasic type. Why Lord Krishna is spending so much time and energy to explain all these? Why Lord Krishna put some interest, so nicely explain all this in Bhagavad Gita? Its meaning, this is healthy for you. When you live your life in a more sattvic way, it's very healthy for you, very beneficial. Rajasic way, not so healthy, in between, mixed good and bad. Tamasic is very bad. So reject your tamasic way of living, summarily reject all the tamasic way of living or rajasic way of living your life. Live sattvic way of living, live your life in a sattvic way. Okay, then you can stay in best of your health. Then you can stay, live with the best of your health and happiness while you live your life in a more sattvic way. That means Krishna says that's how you can take care of yourself, of your health in a best way. Therefore Lord explaining that. If everything would be like that, or just sacrifice, only renounce and take penance, do tapasya only in your life to receive me, then Lord Krishna would not spend so much time and energy to explain about how to remain healthy with sattvic lifestyle, choosing the sattvic ways of living. So it means Krishna took a special interest, he put some interest in explaining all this, meaning that so that we can take care of our health in a best way, sattvic way. We can live our life in a best way with sattvic principles, sattvic way. It means that you can take care of yourself. Okay, you can take a best care of yourself in a sattvic way. So Krishna also wants us to take care of ourselves. Take care of ourselves, so that we receive best health in a sattvic way of living, isn't it? Otherwise, all such explanation will be useless. What utility? But Krishna Lord Krishna mercifully wants to keep us healthy. Lord Krishna very mercifully wants us to take care of ourselves in a sattvic way. Living a sattvic life, therefore he explained so nicely what is sattvic way of life. Okay, another example from Bhagavad Gita. In many ways, we find often, even our Guru Varga, I heard Bhakti Nandan Swami Prabhupada and other Guru Varga, lay some stress, devotees must take care of their health properly, to remain fit, to dedicate to the supreme cause, to remain completely fit, in the devotional service to Krishna, for that interest. And when on certain higher stage of spirituality, when one feels, discovers about himself or herself, realizes about himself or herself in relation to Paramatma, one realizes about his own soul, his own self in relation to the Paramatma, none other than Krishna, none different from Krishna, and loves his own self, properly, lovingly takes care of his own self or her own self, again knowing this is given by Paramatma. This belongs to Paramatma. Myself also belongs. Myself is not anything really completely separate from Krishna, from my Paramatma. But it also is a property. It's inevitable. Inevitably it's a property of Krishna. It's a divine property of Paramatma gifted to me. So ultimately it is an extension of the energy of Paramatma, energy of Krishna. So if I take care of myself, lovingly take care of myself as it is needed to serve my Paramatma, serve my beloved Lord, then it is actually qualified as good as serving my Lord, taking care of my Lord's property, taking care of something, myself, which ultimately belongs to my Lord. I am not anything separate from my own Lord. I am never anyone separate from my Lord's interest. I belong to Krishna. Because I belong to Krishna, myself belongs to Krishna. So I should take care of that self which is belonging to Krishna. I should lovingly take care of that self of mine which is belonging to Krishna. So it is never viewed in the life of a pure devotee, is never viewed separately. Or it is myself separately. I should not be selfish. I should not be, if I take care of myself or love myself, I just become selfish. I'm going away from Krishna, becoming so selfish. I'm no more dedicating to Krishna. It's never viewed in that way. Everything viewed holistically, in inevitable, inseparable relation with Krishna, Krishna's interest. Again, that myself, everything of myself belonging to Krishna, my beloved Lord. So since myself is fully belonging to Krishna, it is Krishna's property, Krishna's energy, Krishna's expansion, Krishna's thing. So I should properly take care of that self, lovingly take care. Very harmonious. That's how it needs to be harmoniously understood in relation to Krishna's interest. That's what Braja Gopis did, ultimate examples found in the Braja Leela. In the Braja Leela, Radha Krishna. Braja Gopis took care of themselves, their body, mind, everything. They took care of themselves very nicely, decorated themselves. Nicely bathed, decorated themselves, took care of their body to be offered to Krishna. Took care of themselves to be offered so that they could offer the best thing, their best to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. So, not with any separate interest from Krishna, but for Krishna's interest, for dedicating to Krishna, to make their everything, make their self, although they are supremely qualified, again they took care of their body and health and everything, Braja Gopis, to keep it keep it qualified, to keep it in the best form, best way, okay, super excellent way, to be offered to Krishna, their beloved Lord. Because everything they wanted to offer to their beloved Lord must be best quality. Although the Brajagopis, the identity, divine identity and conception of the Brajagopis are always best, starting from best, okay, ending into best. They are starting from best to better than the best and super best, in this way going to the infinite, merging to the infinite. Okay, so I am not saying this in a sense, oh, they are not best, they are not of best quality, they had to make them ready to be best. But you understand it, I'm just saying it in a more lila sense, comparative way, lila sense. Not in absolute sense, but in a relative lila, sense of lila. Okay? That Brajagopis are engaged in taking care of themselves, decorating themselves, beautifying themselves, to make them ready in a best way to be offered to Krishna. See, not with any separate interest. So I am speaking of that kind of self-care, self-love, in relation to love of Krishna, for the love of Krishna. Yes. I hope this will be very clearly explained. So sometimes some relaxing mood and mode found in a pure devotee, also considered normal, healthy. Ultimately, that's also ultimately in the interest of the higher taste of, Krishna Leela, Krishna service. Because like being hungry and then eating delicious food, or being very thirsty and drinking your delicious drinks, your hunger is appeased, thirst is quenched. Then again you get thirsty for further enjoyment of getting your thirst quenched. So, after the appeasement of your hunger, total satisfaction of your hunger by eating food, then again you get hungry. In order to relish tasting the food again. Again you get appeased, but you cannot stay appeased for full time. Again you become hungry in order to have the further taste, satisfaction. Okay, that satisfaction, that experience. Okay, happy experience as your hunger is satisfied. So, sometimes while a pure devotee rests in his life, apparently looks like a relaxing, retiring from service to Krishna, from certain direct service to Krishna, whether reading or cooking or preaching, chanting or cleaning, doing any kind of service. Sometimes devotees feeling a bit tired, physically tired or some way tired and relaxing a bit. That relaxing is not really like it's coming away from Krishna, going away from the interest of Krishna. But that relaxing is also understood in the interest of Krishna. It's favorable to Krishna. Okay. Because after relaxing, after resting, after some temporary retirement, the devotee can come up again in full swing with further joyful enthusiasm to engage in that service with taste. In the language of our Guru Maharaj, is developing the positively negative energy. like hunger, like thirst. Hunger, thirst looks like negative energy. Something like wanting. Hunger means wanting more food. It's considered like it representing some negative aspect. And filling the stomach, satisfying the hunger, represents positive aspect. But hunger represents positively negative aspect. That's how Srila Guru Maharaj very nicely explained. Hunger, thirst all represent positively negative aspect. They are never negatively negative. Why? Because hunger, thirst contributing to our positive happiness, satisfaction, our experience of satisfaction, how when hunger is satisfied, we are so happy. We have happy experience. When a thirst is quenched, so happy. We receive some happiness, satisfaction from that. Unless we have that positively negative aspect, function in our life, unless we increase that kind of positive negativity, then we cannot taste the real positive things in our life properly, because there is no want for that. So want means something positively negative. In the language of Guru Maharaj, we need to be increasing, developing that positively negative aspect. Spiritual life, want, lolam, greed, lolam, hankering, the language of Srila Guru Maharaj, hankering after it. After that, the more you will be able to be hankering purely, the more you receive and the more you get the satisfaction, the more you get great happiness, bliss of getting satisfaction. Of tasting, satisfaction of tasting the nectar of Supreme Lord. So some sort of temporary relaxation, temporary retirement in the life of a devotee, I mean not non-devotee, in the lives of the devotee, sincere devotee or pure devotee. It's quite okay. It's also included in the holistic interest of his service or her service to Krishna, her devotional relation with Krishna. Not separate. Like having thirst and then having delicious drinks to quench the thirst. Having hunger for the nectar, delicious prasadam, and then getting satisfied with delicious prasadam. It's like that. After the temporary retirement and relaxation, they come up with again fresh and greater joyful enthusiasm, blissful enthusiasm to taste further the Radha Krishna Leela, nectar of Radha Krishna Leela.